Hello and welcome back to the Keep Right On podcast, where I'm joined by Rich Fay of the Rob Ryan Red podcast to preview this week's match against Wrexham, the big game in League One. Rich, thank you for coming on. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you very much. Probably in a slight worse mood than Blues fans are heading into Thursday night after we lost to Shrewsbury last week, which is the sort of derby at the moment now. Chester, obviously, the traditional rivals, but we might not play them for a long time. So Shrewsbury, yeah, that was, as we'll get on to, that was another horrible reality check, but potentially might be that sort of kick at the backside we need ahead of the most hotly anticipated League One game since, well, we last played you.
Yeah, so Blues pulled 5 points clear of third place Wrexham at the weekend by beating Exeter 1-0. They've also got 2 games in hand on Wrexham, so automatics are looking pretty good from now. Rich, Wrexham's form, won 3 of the last 7, a little bit of a wobble over Christmas potentially, a couple of draws in there as well. Lost 2-1 at Shrewsbury last week. To be fair, Blues have lost to Shrewsbury as well, so we all know how the Greenhouse Meadow can get up for a game and cause a problem or two to a team at the top. So talk us through that one first, please.
It was probably a game that was indicative of Wrexham away from home. There's been this common theme even since the start of the takeover season now, sort of 4 years ago under Phil Parkinson, where we've just not been the same side away from home. We have the best just home record out of any team in Britain. Like we just still set the standards even this season in League One. So there's always going to be a massive drop off in that. But going to these away games, particularly Derby, the setup just didn't seem right from the start. We had Elliot Lee playing off Stephen Fletcher. Fletcher's been excellent. He's really critical to our success over the Christmas period with goals from the bench, important goals from the bench. But there's just not the same output from him as a starter. It's the odd quirk that he scores most of our goals lately, but he's better 20, 30 minutes at the end against tired legs, experience. He gets that half chance when defenders are sleeping and he usually puts it away. So the setup didn't really seem to work. George Dobson wasn't playing midfield again. I felt like we sort of got overran there. And trying to analyse a game is difficult because it's a derby defeat. You want to go full Arsenal fan TV and say, Parky out, these players aren't fit enough to wear the shirt. But fundamentally, we were sort of cost by the fact we didn't create much. But Shrewsbury's goals came from 2 big individual errors. First one, Owen O'Connell, who's been good all season, gives the ball away. John Marquis runs through, fires it past a Conqueror at the near post. And the second one, start the second half, Matty James plays a bit of a hospital pass to Owen O'Connell. He fouls their forward. They get a penalty. We save the penalty. They score the rebound. Other than that, Shrewsbury didn't really offer anything. Neither did we. We maybe had 2 chances ourselves. They had 2 chances. And it was a very just low quality match. So in terms of the Shrewsbury game, you want to get really riled up and annoyed after it. But now that we're a few days on, I'm a bit more content in a way with it because those games happen. And it is worrying that away from home, we don't seem to be the same team. I'd love to know off the players, off the manager, why they think that is. It seems to be the recurring question from a Wrexham point of view. But if I'm going to go happy clappy, yes, like you said, 3 defeats from the last 7 we've had. But I think we've won 7 of the last 11 in the league still. So, we're a completely different beast at home. And you'd like to think that the Shrewsbury game is almost inconsequential to the Birmingham game at home because we are night and day. It's a Jekyll and Hyde performance. So that one's in the past now. And we have this knack as well of poor away performances being followed up by really good home runs or home wins. So we're feeling optimistic again ahead of Thursday. I think we've got to. We can't feel sorry for ourselves, got to pick ourselves up. And yeah, it's an interesting one because some fans might say, well, it's a little bit of a free hit because it's Birmingham. People expect them to win. It's one of the first Wrexham home games we go into where we're maybe not heavy favourites to win it, just from the outside anyway. But it's a chance for us to come back fighting, to put that Derby defeat behind us. And yeah, it's a really interesting one.
Yeah, I want to reel off the numbers because, Wrexham and Blues both unbeaten at home in League One. Wrexham have a slightly better record. So 12 wins, 2 draws, 28 goals for, 8 against. And you've mentioned the average away record probably costing Wrexham, a place in the top 2 as things stand. Why is the Racecourse ground such a difficult place to go? Talk us through it.
So I think, to our advantage is the fact that it's quite a smaller stadium, one of the smallest. We're obviously trying to expand it, but it's quite an intimidating little ground. The away section's off to one side, so we're always attacking the home fans with the temporary stand or with the tech end. So when the tosses won, well, us behind the tech end, the more traditional sort of home end in recent few years might roll our eyes, but we're always attacking home fans, which does help. And I think a key point of it is that when we were in the National League, we were winning basically every single week at home. Like, it was a huge sort of statement and huge headline news if we didn't. Never mind if we lost, but even if we drew at home, it felt like it was a sort of seismic event at times. And we had 2 seasons of that. And it's one of the weird quirks where it was annoying not to go up that first takeover season when we lost in the playoffs to Grimsby, but it gave us another season of just effectively winning every single home game. And that's 2 whole years there, two seasons in which we basically won, probably 90% of all home games. And I think that's kind of the unquantifiable thing that we've got going for us. It's just that we've got a team not only of winners, but who have just been used to winning now for 3 straight seasons at home every single time. And we've won in ridiculous circumstances. There was the game against Dover when we were 5-2 down and we came back and won 6-5. We had comeback win over Salford where we were losing 2-1 in the 90th minute, scored twice in a minute and won it 3-2. There have been so many last minute winners, so many times where we've ground out results. Over Christmas, we had like 3 dramatic home wins, all Stephen Fletcher goals from the bench. We just have this belief, I think it is, and it's one of those things that you see at the very top teams, people who watch the top leagues in the world, and it sort of grown up traditionally. It was Man United, it was Liverpool, the Cop, it was these teams, it's Man City winning titles. Just at home, they just know how to win. And I think that's what's ingrained in this squad. You've got a group of winners and you've just got a team who always believe they're going to get a chance. They're going to get that moment, that way to win a game. And that's what we've got at home. We've got that belief. I think that's the biggest thing. If we go behind to Shrewsbury at home, we still believe we're going to come back and win. On the road, we maybe don't have that sort of catalogue of performances to claw back on. And even with Birmingham this week coming up, the amount of times we've played, Stockport at home, Chesterfield at home, these games that were going to decide the title, Notts County at home, and they were seen similarly as these massive, huge events, and we always found a way to win. So I think it is just one of those things you can't really put your finger on. It's the key reason why we're challenging for promotion again. It's just because these players know how to win, and they always seem to find a win. And every time they do, it just snowballs, and the belief grows and grows and grows again. And it's why I think, even if Wrexham conceded early on Thursday night, the players are still going to fancy they're going to get a chance to get back into the game. Whereas if that happened at St Andrews, head would drop. You think, oh, here we go again. So I think it really is just one of these things that you can't quite sort of define unless you've been there, living through those moments and seeing just how often we've sort of rallied the storm and come through the other end.
I think that the similarity between these two teams, they both have a clear way of playing. Blues obviously very much 4-2-3-1 to begin with, possession based, averaging I think around 68% possession from all their games in League One this season, whereas Wrexham are at the kind of other end of the spectrum, aren't they? They don't really have to have the ball to be effective. They tend to operate in a 3-5-2. You mentioned earlier about Ollie Lee playing off Stephen Fletcher in the Shrewsbury game. I guess we can expect to see him drop a little bit further back into midfield for this game, and someone else coming alongside Fletcher up front, and a more natural strike in front too.
Yeah, I'd expect so, particularly at home. I think that it makes sense to change things up away from home to a degree, just because it's not really been working. So you've got more lenience to sort of experiment. At home, the interesting thing is we have got sort of 4 strikers who are content. We want to sign a new striker this month. That will be the defining factor for us. If we get automatics or not, will be how much we spend in the last 2 weeks of the window. But we will go big man, little man. That is just the way we play. 3-5-2, regimented. We've become a lot more. I think we've almost embraced the fact now that we don't need to have the ball. In the National League and to a degree League Two, there was an onus on us to be the footballing side, to try and break teams down. Going up the divisions, you can almost play to stereotype now, where we're happy to be the counter-attacking underdogs, siege mentality. We can play into that. So I'd expect Thursday night, it's going to be the big man's either Ollie Palmer or Stephen Fletcher. Stephen Fletcher's the man in form. He's the guy who's scoring the goals. He is the one who's got the actual attacking threat. Ollie Palmer runs around a lot, facilitates for the other striker to get chances in between these sort of posts. He distracts defenders quite well. doesn't really offer a goal threat himself. And then who he could be partnered by? Well, Paul Mullin's the man who's capable of magic. And the argument is put him in a game against someone like Birmingham. That's when you can see the best out of him. He'll be relishing that opportunity. The Sky cameras, the world watching to prove his worth again. Or you've got Jack Marriott, who just returned from injury in that Shrewsbury game. It's one of the sort of silver linings that he's now back. He'd broken his leg in training, tripping over a sprinkler, out for 3 months. He was our top goal scorer. Him coming back now is huge for Wrexham, because as much as we need a new striker this month, you've got the stereotypical new signing sort of vibe because Jack Marriott's back. So I think that comes down to fitness. I think most Wrexham fans would say Marriott over Mullin just because what he's produced already this season. But it wouldn't surprise me either if Marriott's not fully fit, if it was Mullin who began. And if it's Mullin who's starting, him and Palmer have played together now for 3 full seasons, basically. So you'd expect them to be the partnership we go with.
What's been the issue with Mullin this season? Because he's got two in 24 League One games. Obviously, he was the man who scored all the goals on the way up to League One from the National League. He didn't really make any impact off the bench in the first game at St Andrews, apart from that incident with Alex Cochrane returning to Hannibal Lecter. Talk us through his season and why he hasn't had an impact.
So a key fact is he finally underwent surgery last summer. Again, missed the start of the campaign. Means he's had 2 seasons now where he's 2 seasons in a row where he's not had a pre-season. Obviously, the first year back in the EFL, he had a burst lung on pre-season when we played Man United. So he missed first few months of the season. By the end of the campaign, was scoring goals for fun in League Two again, but he took a while to get up to speed. It's been a combination of that this season. He missed pre-season, so he's at a disadvantage. He's come back again, and the quality is much higher. You're not getting as much chance in games. You're against better defenders. So it's a combination. I still do think if he'd had a full pre-season, he could have been at sort of the 10-12 goal mark already now, if he'd been the main man. But it was Jack Marriott who was, and it's just been a bit slow to start. And the other factor is he has just maybe reached a ceiling to a degree. He's never sort of been a proven League One goal scorer. Obviously, he was fantastic for Cambridge, had the opportunity to come up. When he was at Tranmere, he played on the left wing in League One, wasn't really getting a proper shout at striker. I still think he's a decent League One striker, but we're not a decent League One team anymore. We're one challenging for promotion. So I think it's a combination of the lack of pre-season and the fact that, it is just a much more difficult league now for him to get those opportunities and to have as much influence on games against these backlines.
Yeah, in the interest of balance, Mullin did claim that Alex Cochrane's calf attacked his mouth rather than the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. Try to prove that one in court.
Players to be wary of, if we're not expecting to see Mullin, who's been the name obviously in the last few seasons, who should Blues be scared of going into this game?
So, player of the season for us has been Ryan Barnett, right wing back, top assists leader, I think, now in League One. I think he's got maybe 8. It's at 7 or 8 assists. Most of them are just crosses in. He's every goal he scored for Wrexham has been a home goal. He never scored in an away game. One of those weird quirks, but he's electric. And in home games, he's given more freedom to attack. Away from home, he tends to defend a bit more, so he's a bit more subdued. But he's a proper threat, quick pace, playing with real confidence, and he's at a level now where you could see him playing sort of in the Championship next season, whether it's with us or without us. He has signed a new contract, so should protect us to that degree. He's the main threat. On the other side, you've got James McLean, who obviously had a warm welcome at St Andrews. He'll be playing right in front of the away fans as well for one of the halves, so I'm sure that will there'll be some viral clips, I'm sure, from whatever happens with him in that game. And I suppose the other players to watch out for will have to just be who we choose in midfield. Ollie Rathbone's been really good lately. He's dropped off maybe in the last couple of games, but he's been a bit of a revelation of Wrexham midfield. He's brought energy, that sort of dynamism, the tenacity and that energy. And I think for us on Thursday night, you mentioned to me before we recorded that could be a potential area of weakness of Blues with injuries and players not be fully fit. For us, we've recently adapted from a 3-5-2 in which we have sort of a holder and 2 men in front to almost a diamond at times where you've got someone like Matty James or George Dobson sitting in front of the defence. 2 others, usually Andy Cannon and Ollie Rathbone, and then Elliot Lee. So I think we'll pack out midfield. I think George Dobson should return. He's really tenacious. He runs non-stop for the full 90, puts in a tackle, can give us that sort of edge that we need if we're going to play as underdogs. So Barnett's the attacking outlet to be wary of. And then just midfield, I expect us to go for just workmen, really, just to be right on it, not give you too much space. You're obviously going to dominate possession. I think, we average probably mid-30s for possession. We're well drilled and disciplined without the ball. And we're going to have to be well on it on Thursday night. We can't afford to switch off. So I think the midfield battle will be the deciding factor, really.
Brilliant. Just lastly, so we can clip this and use it against you after Blues win, what is your score prediction?
I mean, I can't come on here and act all defeatist. We are a completely different side at home. I think lots of Wrexham fans would happily take a point. But hey, we've been there before. We've beaten Notts County. We've beaten Stockport. Why can't we beat Birmingham, eh? I'm going to go Wrexham 2, Birmingham City 1.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Rich. We'll see if that score prediction comes to fruition on Thursday night. Blues against Wrexham in front of the cameras. Again, the Hollywood Derby, I think they called it. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And it's a big keep right on.